Well, hello, everybody. Larry Young here again with another segment of OLaMan Living Life with Purity. And today I want to congratulate Oprah Winfrey for coming back out of the closet again. And this time she's come out of the closet to announce that she is shocked about the silent epidemic that's going through our culture right now. And the silent epidemic she's speaking of is what is known as the cutoff culture. And this is a type of a situation where people are culturally estranging themselves from family members and other associates because of political beliefs or things in the news and things like that. So Oprah Winfrey is stating that she's shocked about this sort of situation going on when it shouldn't be so shocking to her, because she's one of the key people that's been feeding this frenzy for over the last 30 years. I mean, this is the same woman who said you can be your own God with the Eckhart Tolle philosophies. She was the same woman who said you don't need a man, in her talking to her viewers and things like that, trying to tell them to leave their marriages to go out and be on their own and be all that they could be as an empowered woman type of thing. She has led to more, I think, problematic situations culturally in this country in the last 30 years than, I don't know, probably anybody else that I could think of. This is really a separation type of thing. I've always had an issue with Oprah Winfrey and her take on things, because I always saw it as being not constructive, but more destructive to the social model we had going on. She was looking for individual achievements and an individual realization rather than group realization or family bonding. And this isn't so unreasonable coming from a woman who has none of these things herself. It's always been shocking to me that so many women would take advice on marriage and relationships from a woman who hasn't been successful in either one of those with a hetero situation. I don't know what she's got going on, if she's part of the big Mike crowd or what. I really don't know, and I really don't care. But it's very disingenuous for somebody like this to be expressing shock at this silent epidemic, as she wants to call it, when she's been one of the people that's been one of the key architects of all this over the last 30 years, with helping develop our young women and our, married women especially. I don't know how much effect she's had on men, but I'm sure there's a few femme men out there who've bought into the things. But the Eckhart Tolle stuff was just completely off the wall. And her talking about how you become your own God with this sort of spiritual, this new age shit that she was doing. This, I think, damaged a whole lot of people and probably drew a lot of people away from Bible-based churches to this new age type of thinking. I can't even snap my fingers, but she's got this vibe going with her that all of a sudden this is new information. But this is a fallout from the type of crap she'd been talking about for all these years. Telling people, I remember her saying that you could separate from the family, you could separate from your relationships to go out and find yourself, be every woman, be all you can be type of stuff. But you can still love these people you left from a distance. Not up here where you're close and can touch each other, but from a distance. Because this way, with this distance separating, there was a space in between to allow you the comfort and freedom to express yourself without having to be judged or whatever, or criticized by the people that you love back here. No matter if what you were doing out here was just crazy stuff to begin with. But that didn't matter. It was the fact that you were empowering yourself and you were your own God and you had your own path to heaven's gate, so to speak. You could do that on your own. Jesus was very much diminished in that whole discussion. This was all about the individual. And this is where we're at today with so many people online seeking likes and seeking confirmations from the rest of the community about what they have to say. And this inevitably, I mean, everyone thought that they were building something up, but what they were actually doing was helping to devalue relationships, both individually and group-wise. And what this has disenfranchised people from each other more than it's brought people together. And this is all because of you can't be a part of them, you can't enjoy their company, you can't endorse them because you don't share the same beliefs. Now, that's a really bad piece of logic and a bad piece of life practice to go about. Because if you're going to separate yourself from beliefs, then you're going to have so many different fragmented sections of society in this tribal organization that everything seems to be leading to now. And it's never going to get any better. It's only going to get worse. So when you devalue someone's own self-esteem and you make it not important to them, you tell them you don't need them, you don't need that, you can go be your own, you only have to answer to yourself. Self-esteem comes with a bit of a mirror that is to mirror off of the other people around us that we hold in high regard. And so if you separate them out, self-esteem just becomes a personal infatuation. It's not the esteem, because the esteem calls on you to be part of this group and to be prized and acknowledged within that group. But when you're on your own and you try to have this self-esteem, it just becomes sort of a narcissistic echo chamber, and you can't get out of that. So this personal independence that she was striving for and trying to get people to connect with, it hasn't led to joy in these people's lives. This is why they keep coming back for another dose or hit of, what'll help me? Help me, I don't know what to do. This type of thing. So when they get out there, they think they've got it all together, and then they look in the mirror and they're unhappy, they're unsatisfied with their life. Even the new cat hasn't made things any better for them. That wasn't how happiness was going to come upon them. But where the happiness really is back in amongst the group, and to be held in regard by each other and those people around you. And that's where feelings of joy and togetherness come from with us as a human species. To do it the other way only leads to more isolation, which we've got enough of right now with all of these keyboard warriors out there and all the screen time that people are putting in on the internet. It's leading to more and more isolation feelings. This brings down the self-esteem, brings up the anxiety, and it leads to people going back and listening to people like Oprah Winfrey, who can't even recognize their own contribution to this from 30 years ago and continuing onward. So we have to dismiss these types of voices because they are not productive. They're destructive. And like I've always said before, God builds, God creates, God lifts up, the devil destroys and puts down. And you have to just be wise about this, realize what is going on. And you have to dismiss these bad influences in your life, walk away from them. This is all part of knowing who you are. So with this decline in personal self-esteem and more questioning about your place in the world, your place in your culture and your family, and things like that. And I was also reading that with the number of people who attended family gatherings for Thanksgiving, they expect now that from the results of the Thanksgiving gathering that a full 18% are saying because of that they're not going to get back together for Christmas with their family. They're just going to abstain and stay home. And this is not a good trend because it just means that certain things didn't go too well over the turkey dinner. Or it could be that they just don't have the stamina to do it again because it may have taken too much out of them emotionally to keep that genie in the bottle for those 2 or 3 days that they needed to do that. And they don't feel they're up to it again. It was too draining, too emotionally exhausting. Healing is not going to be easy. Healing is not going to take place, in the blink of an eye. Healing is going to take time. It's going to take a lot of Band-Aids. And it's probably going to take a few glasses of bourbon along the way too, or white wine, or whatever it is you favor. But don't overindulge on those things and don't overfixate on it. Just stay strong. Keep the doors open. Don't be closing things off to these folks out there. Like I said, it's like the prodigal son. When the father lost his son, the heartache that he felt when his son went off into the world, the father had hope that his son would go out and learn and come home. The father always felt that. The son always thought that he had the world by the tail and was going to go out and, own it. Well, only one of those was right. The father was. And this is where the wisdom came in. And so when the son came back home, all the son wanted to do was, plead, to say how sorry he was and all like that. And the father said, quiet, hush, get him cleaned up, get him, one of my best robes. Let's, kill the fatted calf. We're going to celebrate. My son is home. And the son says, Father, I don't deserve. He says, enough of that. He says, you're my son. He says, we're going to, party today, but tomorrow we'll work and you'll get back to work on that. And everything that's left here will go to your brother because you've already taken your part, but you're welcome to stay as my son and continue on. And who knows what may have happened after that. Maybe the son got more abilities going back home and found his way up, and he build his own fortune or his own life from scratch out of that. You don't know. I'd love to see the other half of that particular story. But while we've got this shrinking of personal identity and this self-esteem is being drawn out of people through too much screen time and this isolation, this loneliness that they're feeling that they can't get out of because they never knew how to become overtly socialized. And they've always been put down and put into these screens, their laptops, their telephone devices, things like that, everything ringing and dinging, in the meantime, people being lost in a crowd into their devices. This isolation is going on. It takes this continual effect on people. And it's manifesting itself right now in more people declaring that they are so depressed that they can't get out of it. And a lot of people are opting to end their lives. And they're being allowed to end their lives in places like Canada that has its MAID program, MAID, Medically Assisted Induced Death. And this is a program where the government allows people under doctor's care and a certain set of criteria to enter into the country and to ingest some chemicals, some drugs, and end their life. They are saying this is compassionate, this is empathy. I would vote that it's neither one of those. I would vote that it's more of an easy path out of a tough situation that nobody wants to take responsibility for, much like Miss Winfrey here doesn't want to accept her own role in what she's helped create over these last 30 plus years with her own influence and destructive thinking that's ruined I don't know how many marriages, how many young women, how many young men have been ruined by these thoughts and ideas that just aren't proper. They're not based on history. They're based on feelings and empowering themselves as an individual because they're what's most important. And I would submit that the individual is the least important of all. It's important to them, but as far as the group goes, the individual is only there as part of the group. The group is the more important dynamic there, what happens in there. The individual needs to become part of that and contribute to it. So thinking that the individual is more important than the whole is leading more to this isolation type of thing. It's separating them out rather than bonding them in. And this is why we get this Canadian death camp going on. So right now, I was looking, there's about 350,000 deaths in Canada each year. So you got your cancers, you got your car deaths, you got your heart attacks, and things like that. And then you've got MAID, these medically assisted induced deaths. And it's gotten to be so big that you have tourists coming from other parts of the world to fly into Canada for whatever the prescribed amount of time is, to be diagnosed, dealt with, and to be given their option to kill themselves, easily and legally. This is very, very troubling because when you offer people who are low and at a poor point in their life an option to do something that is so permanent and carries so little regard for life itself, and with this diminished capacity, you're just on a slippery slope to, more and more problems. And I would submit that the therapists who are judging these people with their problems, that we may need to be checking out the therapists who are doing the diagnoses. The problem may go back up line quite a bit further than we want to be comfortable with. Same thing with like our school teacher and our school system. Everyone thinks that, Miss Kennedy is the best and all like that. But they don't know Miss Kennedy. They don't know what she's saying. They don't even know what she's telling their children in the classroom because nobody's there to monitor it. And if the kid says something, they'll say, well, she didn't mean that. You got it all wrong. Then they ask Miss Kennedy. She says, well, I never said anything like that. But if we were to have a camera in there, we would know exactly what was said. So this brainwashing that's going on from all different points of concern is really the silent epidemic that Miss Oprah Winfrey needs to be discussing. That it's not the silent epidemic of people not agreeing with each other. It's the silent epidemic of these combined influences that have all gathered up, and the synergistic effects of all of these is leading to this community-wide brainwashing that we have going on. This is the kind of thing that the devil loves to use. He loves to use people's thoughts about good intentions for bad deeds. So the devil is definitely winning on this thing. And I just have to say to Miss Winfrey, when you say you can love them from a distance, to tell people to go ahead and separate themselves and be thinking about their family and friends back home that they walked away from and have dismissed. I would only ask Miss Winfrey, I said, you say you can love them from a distance, but it didn't work in 1995. And it's not working in 2025. Where are you getting your advice from, Miss Winfrey? We need to think about that. In the meantime, I love you, and I'll be back.